that that we have, and just a few things to keep in mind. Do the phone call first. Definitely reach out by phone first for an offer. It's great because you can, personally share your excitement. This is where, again, that kind of two-way street, and you're selling your organization just as much as the candidate's trying to sell themselves. So make sure that the candidate knows how excited you are to have them potentially joining your team. But this also gives you a chance to hear directly from the candidate any initial questions that they may have, or adjustments, logistically adjustments that you might need to make to your offer letter. And it also sets you up mentally for the negotiations period. So, after you have your phone call, make any necessary adjustments to your offer letter. We also recommend that you ensure your offer letter has been reviewed by some sort of a legal representative before you send it on to the candidate. And then finally, negotiations. You should expect, and we expect, so don't be surprised if the candidate negotiates and wants to negotiate. We want them to. So again, don't be surprised by that. As you are going through that process, know what your hard lines are again before you start the negotiation process. So, for example, think about how flexible are you going to be on the title, the start date, the benefits, the PTO, bonuses. These are all things that are really common for candidates to bring up. So make sure that you're not surprised by any of these, and you have already in your head how much wiggle room or bend room that you have. We just to kind of back it up to the evaluation process, in that first initial screening call, we as Thread always ask standard questions during that initial phone screen, so we can avoid or minimize surprises during this phase, during the negotiation phase. So we never want an organization to be blindsided. We always ask, the posted salary range for this organization is this. Is that within your desired salary range? And we also always ask, if you were to receive an offer from this organization, how much time would you need between accepting the offer and your first day, so that it's really clear, and that that we minimize the amount of stumbling that happens during this negotiation phase. But best laid plans. So surprises still happen, so we encourage you to really be ready for anything when it comes to the negotiation phase. Okay.
Stela, we have a question. Do you have a recommendation for low cost or free nonprofit salary ranges beyond 990s of comparable organizations that may or may not have the job that you're that you're filling? Just want to make sure. Kristen would like to make sure I'm not missing a good source of information. So I think what Kristen is saying is a source that she doesn't have to pay for, where she can look at salary ranges. Not that the job would have a free range in the salary, but the source of information is not something she has to pay for, to be able to see if she's setting her salary range to be comparable to other similar sized organizations.
Yeah, one of the things that we do, I know we get this question a lot. One of the places that I like to look, we have some resources and that we can send along some sites, but Glassdoor is free. It usually gives a really wide range, but a lot of the times you can see it in there. I would say in general, of course, it depends on the market. If you're hiring for a development director position, again, this is in general and market specific. Director level is usually looking at a minimum $100,000. Again, this depends on your market and where you live. So some smaller markets are going to be less than that. Larger markets are going to be higher than that. But yeah, we can provide some resources at the end of some websites where you can check. But Glassdoor is usually my quick answer, because that's a aggregation of organizations all over the country, and they take into account where it's located and similar positions.
I'll also every now and then do an audit of positions posted currently, because one of the things, especially in the last year in particular, I would say, is that with inflation, with the job market being tight, we're seeing a time where salaries, I think, have increased in the last year greatly. And so sometimes if you're looking to peer organizations data from 990s and those sources, that might be something that that organization was able to hire at that amount 5 years ago and they still have someone on board, so lucky them, but it doesn't mean it's what the current market is commanding in terms of being competitive when you post a job right now. Again, I think we're in a unique moment a little bit in that way, that things are changing fast. And so for example, I was helping with a search for one of our partners in Pittsburgh at a manager level. I just went ahead and searched for what else was posted in Pittsburgh at a manager level right now. And so I also think that in current times, it can be helpful to just take a minute and look in your market for a comparable job, or maybe look at some peer organizations if you are a national organization that doesn't have a market.
Yeah, I would. So Glassdoor does pull from Indeed, so that is an easy way to kind of kill two birds with one stone. But I would also caution with the 990 piece as well, because like something that Loree just said made me think. And we'll talk about this a little bit as well. A lot of organizations do, not only could it be old data, but they could also be underpaying, and they could not be at that, kind of fair market value. And so looking at other comparable organizations, 990s isn't necessarily the best way to do it. I do think looking at the current market and current open positions is the best way to do that, but also kind of take it with a grain of salt, understanding that there's a lot of reasons, there's wide variability, and sometimes, we've worked with many organizations who need a director, but they just don't have the budget for it. So they'll still post it and, kind of cross their fingers at a lower range and hope that they can find a really great, compelling candidate. And it's not because they're trying to undercut the candidate. That's all they have the budget for.